I remember I remember you and Everything Must Go perhaps back for the first time. Whereas, it's always hard to pinpoint the first time you hear an album because you're in the process of making it. But I remember getting a finished copy back with the artwork and stuff. And I remember just thinking, wow, this sounds like there's a production ethos on this album. I remember Mike saying, this has got to be produced to trashiness. And he actually said at the start of the album as well, he said, I want it to sound British, kind of like you are a British band, I want you to sound, say a band like Queen, I think he said to us, they were never ashamed of their Britishness and they revelled in it, and I think you should sound more British because, when I stood there in the rehearsal room watching you for the first time, I just thought, what a great British rock band. And I remember just listening back to the album and thinking, yeah, he kept to all his promises. Like a song like Everything Must Go, I remember Ian Gribble, the engineer on the album, he was a brilliant bloke as well. I remember all his engineer friends called him up when they heard the mix of Everything Must Go, the song, and they'd all just said to him, what the fuck are you doing? Because he kind of breaks a lot of rules in terms of how harsh it is, in terms of it being a single and therefore it's going to get played on radio. It's just, it's a little beast of a song, and he just put echo chambers all over it to get what we wanted. And also, if you actually listen to the drums on Everything Must Go, this is really boring fucking technical stuff, but they're not that compressed. It's all quite free and open.
The title, I think, even predates the writing of the song Everything Must Go.
Yeah.
Can you explain where that came from and what it was meant to convey?
It was just my brother was writing a play called Everything Must Go, which he did eventually, but, as with plays, it takes him years. And he just had a crappy homemade folder with a picture of a shop closing down in Blackwood High Street with Everything Must Go on. It wasn't a title I particularly loved, because everything had been much more complicated than that before, but it was very pragmatic. The baggage is being released, really. Because like I said with Richie, it wasn't him going missing wasn't the worst bit in a funny kind of way. It was the year before. It was, it was just nightmarish. There was nothing redeeming about it. People might think there is, but it's not. It's just, there's no fun seeing someone kind of losing the will to live.
When Ian Curtis sort of left the band, New Order, sort of just took everything away and sort of just had no image. I forget who it was, but I think it was Peter Hooks, said that we were going for a non-image. There was nothing except for the music. There's no baggage then left for people to sort of get distracted by.
So it's very important.
It was, yeah. It was just a new beginning, new start. Forget all the sort of gimmicks and frills of what happened before with the sloganeering and dresses and blouses and all the other stuff that went on to annoy people. We just wanted something which was sort of that conformed then.
It is a non-image, but there's nothing that we look good looking. I mean, we look handsome, but I was never really into handsome.
What was the word you were after?
Slutty. The sex disappears out of the band. We become sexless, which bizarrely coincided with a lot more success, but it does become very anemic.
It just didn't sort of allow us to sort of get distracted, really. We didn't really have to think. It was just like, well, we just put on our everyday clothes and don't have to worry about it. We didn't feel like we had to, like I said, we didn't have anything to live up to, or we didn't feel like we had to impress anyone anymore. Sort of, these are our songs. This is, what we've done. Just, take it or leave it.
I think we decided to become more bland as band members visually, because we wanted the music to take the brunt of the criticism or the brunt of the credit and be the mainstay of the attention. This time it's just going to be judged on the first single, and that's going to be the benchmark for where everybody feels about us, and it's got to be good enough because there's not going to be much else around it to hang your hat on, because we just didn't feel as if we could take the pressure of having to, me personally, of having to, fill the gap that Richie, had left, in terms of stylistically being quite iconoclastic, you know, always being striking, always being challenging. And I just knew I couldn't do that. So I knew that the first single just had to say, well, there's some stuff missing here, but there's one big thing that's going to make up for all that, and that's this song, Design for Life. And then everything's going to follow after that, and you're going to understand where we are.
Design for Life was a genuine smash. I mean, it was 92,648 singles first week. I can actually, that's the truth. Any other band that would have sold singles like that at that period would have sold 100,000 albums first week, you know, and gone ballistic. But it was still that little bit with us. There was obviously still something deeper resonating in people's consciousness, because it did 62,000 and George Michael beat us.
Yeah. That's that band with the mad bastard who cuts himself.
Yeah. It was still there, you know, which I'm glad about in retrospect. I felt a little bit disappointed for a while, but it did give everything, it built and give everything it was still, you know, it was still number 4 56 weeks later.
I didn't realise until after we'd finished it how good it actually was. The recording that we did in sections of tracks together, it was actually, we did a playback session at Abbey Road for Record Company and a few others when it was finished, and it was from their reaction that I think we all realised, hang on, this is a really good record.
I remember having a small argument, you know, with Nick. You know, I was saying, you know, me being scared as whether we could be seen as part of being Britpop, and you saying, who gives a fuck, kind of thing. And I kind of, part of me did want to be part of it a bit.
I think we rode the coattails and we did some moppage.
What did you mop?
Well, just people that were actually open to guitar music. I mean, it is, for all the wrongs of Britpop, people just don't get the absolutely cataclysmic sea change that it made to music. Bands had just never sold that many records before. All of a sudden, people were getting triple platinum, you know, awful bands, you know, and to have, you know, Oasis and Blur leading the way, couldn't help but did kind of raise the competition. It raised the bar big time. You know, I did see Damon as my kind of nemesis at that point.
I remember seeing Oasis on Top of the Pops doing Some Might Say, and Noel putting his Union Jack guitar above his head, me going for a 3.5 hour walk and thinking, God, you know, he must feel so great. He's done exactly what he's always wanted to do, and he doesn't seem to have compromised. And he's just fucking happy. And he's on Top of the Pops lifting his Union Jack guitar above his head, and he just feels as if he's in control of his world. And me just going for a 3.5 hour walk and just feeling like a piece of shit.
That's what I mean, the competition was raised. It made me focus, as Damon would say to Justine. You have to focus. And the bar was raised. I mean, you couldn't just piddle about when there was, you know, 2 supergroups going at it. Live, we were just really well rehearsed, and we did millions of gigs. You know, there was no cancellations from me for ill health or general wanting to, you know, my philosophy of confirm and cancel. I actually confirmed and did it.
You played with the Stone Roses at Wembley Arena.
Yeah.
The first sort of show back. You were wearing an ice hockey jersey.
Terrible.
How did it feel coming back like that? It's quite a big thing. Entering the world again.
The strange thing about it was I thought it was pretty awful all around, but loads of people came up after that, just press, you know, journalists we know, the Stone Roses sound man even, and everyone just mentioned Design for Life. You know, just went, that song with the da-na-na-na-na was blinding. A lot of people. And this was way before he was released.
It just gave us a taste of what arenas were going to be like, because we'd always wanted, I know James said medium-sized venues years ago, but we'd always wanted to play the big arena.
I was really surprised. I think I was really surprised when we supported Oasis at Main Road. I was really surprised that we started, I remember I had a bit of lost my voice a bit, but I got through it. And we'd done these songs, that usual support scenario, you're supporting like a massive band, you know everybody's there to see them. I remember, I think we did Design for Life towards the end of the set, and suddenly there was this wave of recognition through the audience. I remember just thinking, you know, kind of like, perhaps, you know, that song is everything I thought it was. Perhaps that is something that connects in the audience that we've never done in a way we've never done before. I remember just seeing, you know, quite lacklustre reaction to us through this set, supporting Oasis, and then suddenly that song just